Sip and Puff Technology, a Comprehensive Review by Rachel Geller from the University at Buffalo. What is Sip and Puff? Sip and Puff, which is spelled a couple different ways, is assistive technology used to send signals to a device using air pressure by sipping, also known as inhaling, or puffing, also known as exhaling, on a straw, tube, or wand. Some common uses for Sip and Puff. There are two main categories that Sip and Puff devices are commonly used for. These include motorized wheelchair navigation and operating other switch-activated devices, such as computers, augmented communication devices, adapted toys, environmental control systems, and much more. There's also some pretty fun and innovative uses that these devices are being used for, which I will highlight at the end of this video. The target user. The target user of a Sip and Puff device are adults or children with limited or no motor capability to operate switch-activated devices. These devices can include computers, augmented communication devices, adapted toys, environmental control systems, and other devices accessed or controlled by scanning. Some common diagnoses that would typically use these devices include ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, multiple sclerosis in its advanced stages, spinal cord injury, traumatic brain injury, or some forms of cerebral palsy. There are two main types of devices. These include the Breeze and the Switch, which I will go into further detail in the next couple of slides. The Sip and Puff Breeze. This device has a sensor with an integrated USB computer interface. The Sip and Puff Breeze, the latest version, now supports iOS 7, so is compatible with Mac devices. The sensitive electronic pressure sensor will sense a sip or puff and convert these events into mouse button clicks, joystick button presses, or other keyboard characters, and pass these to the connected USB host device. And these Breeze devices are available with headset or gooseneck, which I will also go into further detail in the next couple of slides to explain further. Next is the Sip and Puff Switch. This device translates sips and puffs into independent switch closures. It has two 3.5 millimeter ports for connecting two standard mono cables or a single stereo cable. It has integrated test buttons to assist in application testing, which is a very important feature as tests may need to be run every so often. It has two pressure switches, which are normally open, that close when the user sips or puffs on an attached mouthpiece. And this is also available with the headset or gooseneck, just as the Breeze was as well. The headset versus gooseneck. The Sip and Puff headset is a comfortable, adjustable head frame. The padded headset slips over the ears and behind the neck. A replaceable mouth tube is held in position with an integral stainless steel forming wire. The tube and wire can then be bent and cut to adapt to an individual's needs. The flexible steel gooseneck and the ball and socket mount enable easy and secure mouthpiece repositioning. The filtered mouthpiece is replaceable, and a thin, pliable connecting tube interfaces the mouthpiece to the Sip and Puff switch with a simple twist connector. Both options can benefit an individual using a Sip and Puff technology. A specialist who is familiar with these devices can help with the selection process so that the device that best suits an individual's needs will be selected. Connectivity. The device that turns sips and puffs into electrical signals, also referred to as a switch interface for a computer or AAC, augmented communication device, is available in two forms. If a simple switch closure over a standard 3.5 millimeter connector is desired, then the passive sip and puff switch should be chosen. If a USB output is desired, then the sip and puff breeze should be chosen. Obtaining the device. Sip and puff wheelchairs would most likely be covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance. It may be considered as part of a child's IEP plan during a multidisciplinary meeting and thus would be covered under the IDEA, or Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 2004 requires IEP teams to consider the assistive technology needs of all children with disabilities. The IEP team makes decisions about assistive technology devices and services based on a child's unique needs so that they can be more confident and independent. The law requires schools to use assistive technology devices and service to maximize accessibility for children with disabilities. IDEA defines an assistive technology device as any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially off the shelf, modified, or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of a child with a disability. So, as thus, after reading these definitions, the sip and puff device could definitely be beneficial for a child and could be potentially covered under this new law, the IDEA 2004. So having knowledge about the device and having advocates who are knowledgeable and can prove that this device can be beneficial for a child is very important to set forth and to discuss during an IEP meeting. Outside of the device being covered by either insurance or under a child's IEP plan, it can also be purchased online from websites such as enablemart.com, which offers the device for $295 with 20 additional straws costing $20. Finally, another and more creative way to get funding if the other options have not covered the cost or the cost out of pocket is unavailable is through donations, organizations, or fundraisers to cover some or all of the cost. How does it work? An anti-contamination filter and straw comes pre-attached but can be simply assembled if additional straws are purchased separately. The straws can be bent and adjusted for each individual user. A pressure sensor tells when the user sips or puffs. There are various types of pressure sensors that can read a range of pressures. They can read both positive and negative pressure values. The sensor then translates the various pressures into various commands. For example, to move a mouse on a computer a certain direction or to move a motorized wheelchair in a certain direction. Skills needed to learn and use the device. A user would need the cognitive ability to learn the process of using the device. In addition, the user would need sustained attention to operate the device. Also, enough breath capacity or respiratory volume and breath control to successfully operate the device. Good oral motor control is also a requirement, and as well, motivation to want to learn how to use the device and the motivation to continue wanting to use it. Some of the pros of sip and puff devices: increased independence, increased communication, can be linked to a variety of devices, little physical movement is required, and low energy expenditure is required. Some cons: it can be costly if not covered by insurance or other funding sources. Some users report headaches or dizziness from the altered breathing patterns. May not be appropriate for individuals with altered breathing patterns or difficulty controlling their breath. So if that is the case, the system may have difficulty reading commands, which could cause error. And in my opinion, a con would be you have to use a mouthpiece for the operation, so this could affect different social abilities because you cannot operate and talk at the same time. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, some more innovative and fun uses for the Sip and Puff. Mark Theobald actually designed the kayak in this picture all by himself from scratch. He's very into kayaking, and he actually created this motorized kayak which operates off of the Sip and Puff technology, and it has a bunch of safety features built in as well. I also discovered that they have Sip and Puff sailing, and just there's a ton of more that is being created and innovative, and it's they're inventing more and more every day. So in summary, Sip and Puff devices can be used for mobility, communication, or to operate switch-activated devices such as computers. They're usually covered by insurance or are covered under a child's IEP, and they provide the opportunity for users to have increased independence and communication in their environment. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned a lot about Sip and Puff devices.